Already 2 people here. Yeah. Well, Angel, wow. What's up? I said 7:45, like half an hour before I even said anything. So I doubt anyone got that. So that's why I'm going to wait longer than normal, because I gave a really late notice on that. What you watching, Angel? I just finished Dahmer the other day, actually. Yeah, just finished it the other day. And I'm going to get into how the Adam Project, I saw a little bit of it. I couldn't really get into it, though. There's some really weird stuff with the last episode of the Jeffrey Dahmer show. Guys, got to give me a second. Let me put this away. It's a hilarious show, you say? Oh, I bet it is. It has that same guy that was in that reality movie where, remember, he was in a simulation and they got upgraded to another simulation. What's that actor's name? Remember that fake simulator world they were in? It's a pretty new movie, like a year or two. Oh, man. Ryan Reynolds. That's it. Ryan Reynolds. Yeah, I think I know you're that movie. Something Bill. Okay, you know what? I'm going to look it up because it's kind of bothering me right now. Ryan Reynolds. I actually made a video on this movie. It came out like a year ago. Oh, it was called Free Guy. Yeah, it was called Free Guy, about how like an NPC developed sentience and consciousness, or developed consciousness rather, and ended up like overriding this like simulation that he was in, and he ended up freeing everyone in this simulation, and they went into an upgraded world or whatever. So my cat is going crazy in the last video, and now she's going crazy again. And she's probably in heat because we've done everything we can to calm her down. Too close to reality, right? And it seems like she specifically knows when I'm doing a video. Just keep doing your mouse. Just go ahead. Man, can't believe this. Freaking video got over 100,000 views. Incredible. Incredibly positive response too. Makes it difficult doing anything. Yeah. Like, I don't know. I'm just like kind of humbled a little bit. But Well, I mean, you've seen my NDE, so I'm just basically talking about my NDE like I did 1,000 other times on a bunch of other videos. So, yeah. Well, you never heard my NDE, Angel. I thought if there's anyone that would know about it, it would definitely be you. That's, well, I shared it in the community post if you want to see it. It's not too far below there. Oh, man, I did come here too early, didn't I? Hey, North Texas hiker. How's it going? Cool. Yeah, let me know what you think. Um, I had this really weird troll on that video though. Like he would like reply to like every single person's comment, saying that my NDE was the lie of the serpent and that I was a demon. I'm like, okay. And you know what's funny is like if you respond with love and compassion to people like that, it doesn't compute to them. Like they don't get it. And that's exactly what happened because I just said, hey, I love you and I wish you nothing but the best. And he said, go away, demon. I'm like, okay, I don't know who's the demon here. Like, who's acting like the demon in this situation? I guess, I don't know. Maybe I'm just seeing stuff. Yeah, no, it's just like weird. Like, you don't have to agree with like my story. Like, it happened, right? Like, I'm just telling something that happened. I'm not like standing up here and being like, this is absolute fact. This is exactly how reality works. And this is the absolute truth. I've never, ever said that. This is the whole purpose of my entire channel's existence is because just because I had that NDE doesn't mean I have even close to all the answers. I don't even, I'm actually, I have more questions than ever, actually. It's like the more as the years drag on, the more questions I have. It's like it didn't answer everything for me, you know, not by a long shot. There's still weird stuff going on, like exactly what's going on with the Mandela effect. I don't know. It's just years of theories and speculation, and we never come to any sensible conclusions. Um, yeah, it's almost a curse knowing, though. Yeah, I mean, it's a curse and a blessing at the same time. Life is. Yeah, thanks, North Texas hiker. I believe so too. I believe I was shown some great truth, and not just the NDE, but in general, all sorts of dreams and epiphanies and revelations and information that has come through after that. Very interesting stuff I was shown throughout my life, not just during that experience. I share a lot on this channel too. So thanks, I appreciate that. Having said that, so I don't know why I'm compelled to talk about Jeffrey Dahmer, but I got to get him off my chest because his Mandela effect is important to me. And I made a video on his Mandela effect probably 4 or 5 months before the show came out. And my cat is just really distracting me. Somebody help. Dina. Anyway. All right. Only sucks we weren't given access to the worldly knowledge we were forced to piecemeal getting it. Yeah. The broom is from another serial killer. So you think the broom is from another one? Okay, can you oh. I okay, can you tell me who then? Because I am so certain that the broom was him. So if you could find a name to who that was, I would really appreciate that. Because I am so certain that that is how he died. Specifically, because I even remember that he was killed that way because he was homosexual. So it was a sort of nasty way of showing that to him. Yeah, I studied them for years too. So what if he still died like that in this reality? So what am I talking about here? But remember, a Hispanic. Okay, I know who you're talking about. I know exactly who you're talking about. You're talking about this immigrant from Haiti who was assaulted by the police in New York City. I remember a case like that where also a broomstick was used. And this particular individual actually, I remember that. So it was a Haitian immigrant in New York. That's the other case that I remember that was similar to that. So, okay, well, I'm talking about what I. Okay, so North Texas hiker says that's familiar to him too. Um, yeah, it was a very violent, brutal death. Well, it still is. The new death it still is. In this version, he still dies by a fellow prisoner, and it's the same guy. It is the same guy that I remember from the previous reality that killed Dahmer and the other inmate as well. And what's interesting about the show is that they show like a small snippet, a few seconds long, of the guy who killed the inmate before Dahmer. He was holding like half a bloody broomstick. It never showed him use the broomstick or anything. We don't know how the other inmate died in the show. It doesn't show anything. But then he puts down the broomstick and then he uses the metal pipe, or rather exercise machine equipment, to kill Dahmer. I'm fairly confident. I mean, I believe you that there was another death like that, Angel. There's unfortunately many deaths like that, probably, because it's such a violating, despicable way to end someone. So, yeah, it's a meme, exactly. So, it probably happened quite a lot throughout history. But I am 99.9% certain, very confident, that it happened to Dahmer. That a broomstick was inserted in a certain place to a point where he actually bled to death from the injury. And I'm far from the only one who remembers that. Why was it altered? I think, here's what I think. Had his death not been altered, this show would have never come out too. This is some kind of reality insertion, a sort of propaganda, if you will. And this is where I'm going to talk about something extremely dark. So I'm sorry. I know I talk about that a lot, but this is just my opinion, especially for the new people who came over from my very positive NDE. I do talk about very dark stuff here. I think that it was altered to basically sorry, give me a second, prepare the people, to prepare the population for a timeline in which cannibalism becomes normalized. And first and foremost, his presence in general, or the fact that he was a cannibal, was a sort of representation or an archetype of humanity's behavior as a whole towards eating meat. And I'm not going to be sitting here like Klaus Schwab and tell you to eat insects. That's not what I'm implying here at all. What I'm saying is that Jeffrey Dahmer, in a spiritual sense, I believe, was an archetype for the mass death produced by the meat industry. And by consuming this meat that dies so violently, we are consuming ourselves. So Dahmer was a representation of the human race as a collective consuming itself through violence. Okay? So, I'm not saying, and that doesn't justify anything that he did as being right. Not at all. Justice had been had. Yeah, maybe just, yeah, I guess. Well, yeah, he was lonely, right? Well, I mean, a lot of people are lonely. Okay, there's so many lonely people, it's ridiculous. But he had these compulsions that he couldn't stop. Like and it's such a bizarre thing that such compulsions would even exist. And he, according to the show, I don't know if I'm not saying the show is 100% accurate either. Hey, Pengredi, how's it going? But apparently he had no empathy either. So that often is either a symptom of, sociopathy, psychopathy, or narcissism. So if he had no sense of empathy, that definitely played into it. And that's really hard for me to conceptualize or to try to imagine how like somebody could see someone or something suffer and like feel absolutely nothing. It's just so bizarre to me. I can't fathom something like that. Oh, thanks, Prim Greedy. I'm glad that you're here. Very happy to see you. I was just talking about how Dahmer is like an archetype for society as a whole and our violent consumption of meat. And I'm not a vegetarian either. I'm not like being righteous or virtue signaling or anything like that right now. I'm just saying that that's kind of how we live as a species, as a collective. Everyone's pointing the finger at Dahmer for consuming human meat, but we're consuming each other as a collective, like the Ouroboros, right? And part of that consumption is the violent nature in which we consume animals. And on top of that, he comes from a region that is known for, you know, cheese and delis and dairy and meat. Milwaukee and Chicago and the Midwest are obviously known for all that stuff. Okay, evil stepmom, enjoy causing suffering. So his stepmom, you're talking about Dahmer's stepmom, or whose stepmom are you referring to? Mystery. Yeah, it's a cannibalistic world where we're like consuming ourselves, right? So, and there's a very like, if you didn't think what I mentioned now was dark, this is where it's going to get really dark. And this is where it's going to get really dark. So why was his death altered? So there's a channel, I can't remember the name of it, but this guy's super interesting, where he talks about the Mandela effect as being, he kind of sees it as a butterfly effect, where there are certain events that are altered to bring about a specific outcome later down the line that would benefit certain people, which I think is actually probably pretty accurate. So if we have some very advanced, whatever they are from the future, I don't know, and they see if that they can alter, I don't know, the Titanic sinking, or actually the Titanic has been Mandela affected too, but I'm not going to get into that. And then later down the line, they see that the momentum of time and all those sort of changes that occur eventually somehow ends up benefiting them, whatever minor or major change that has been made. And my theories, I'm not going to get into it, that has to do with Horus and the birthing of the sun process and CERN and all those things connected. I'd rather be dead than eat people. Me too, honestly. And that's where I was going to go next, though. That was going to be my dark moment number 2 in this whole discussion, was whatever is behind the scenes here if they could alter Dahmer's death. I believe his death was altered specifically for this show on Netflix to come out. Now, how, of course, you're like, well, how is that directly related? It's not directly related, like overtly, like a surface level. I'm talking about like a spiritual thing here. Death changed. If it didn't, I think he would have been pretty much not forgotten, because he would never be forgotten, but he would be like in the back of everyone's brains, like most of these serial killers are. But this show came out to sort of inseminate the minds of people to prepare themselves for the possibility of doing the same thing that Dahmer did in the event and outcome of, let's say, a nuclear war. So we had Nancy Pelosi's husband attacked the other day. There's an Illuminati card that specifically says "Eat the rich." Okay, and there's a lot of other videos and songs and movies where the same exact thing is implied. Now, you take "Eat the rich" in combination with this attack. So this attack happened at the same time that this Dahmer show is out. So it's subconsciously implanting into people attack and eat the rich. I get how far-fetched that is, okay? That's just what I think. It's a subconscious drive to alter people's consciousness and prepare them for their own unfortunate potential real cannibalism in the event that there's nothing to eat. That's why Dahmer's timeline was altered. That's why he has this massive show. And by the way, his dad is supposedly suing him, or suing Netflix for the show. Why, I don't know. There are a lot of very abusive stepmoms. Mine would keep very verbally abusing me until I cried as a kid, but she enjoyed it. There are a lot of abusive stepmoms. These entities enjoy. Yeah, I know, Mystery. I've been there myself, very much so. So I totally get it. What? Starry's, you said, did you see Judge Judy's gavel return almost the exact time CERN came online again? No? Okay, don't tell me that she's hitting the gavel again. Okay, I gotta check this. Because remember, guys, that was one big Mandela effect, Judge Judy. And that's odd that you mention her, because that's a synchronicity for me, since I just watched a video about her the other day on some random channel I'm not even subscribed to, about her and her show. And here you mention her. And I didn't pay attention to the gavel in this particular video, but I never watch videos about her. I never really liked her or the show. I just knew that she used the gavel a lot. But you're telling me she is again in the first 3 seasons, so that long ago. Incredible. Look at that. Absolutely amazing. I'm so glad you mentioned this. Well, it's no big deal. I'll overcome it, but just saying there's some really messed up people. Yeah, no. We talked about this on the channel before, nature versus nurture, and how it could really, kind of fracture a person's mind the way he grows up, and he could develop dual personalities. And I actually think it's possible Dahmer might have even had like a dual personality situation taking place. Again, though, definitely psychopath and sociopath. I don't think he was a narcissist, though, but maybe. Just a really strange set of dynamics that would develop like the strangest of compulsions. But he's not alone. that would have such compulsions. And that's like one of the very bothersome things about this reality, how there's not tons of people. Well, there's a lot. How many people have similar compulsions and they don't act on them? Right? Like, for example, in the show, Dahmer's dad said that he desired to kill people too, but he never did. So that's like a really creepy thought. Like, what actually goes on in a lot of people's minds is probably a lot more disturbing than a lot of us would like to think. Um, and it is, because that's how it's manifesting in the real world. The real world being very twisted in itself, too. Okay, it's scary. People can do such insane stuff. It is insane. Yeah, we might have dodged a lot of bullets. Exactly. You never know, like, who you encounter on the street or whatever. My parents are horrible. It's not just step parents that abuse. People could really suck. No, they could really suck. I've had a lot of stuff happen in my childhood myself, and some really dark times. So I totally get it. Yeah, but according to the show, he didn't know why he had these compulsions, and I don't think the show is. I don't know how many of you seen it. First of all, it's probably like 70% accurate to what actually happened, is my estimate. Nobody really knows, though. How can you? It's not really possible. But I do believe that part of it's correct, that he didn't really know why. And that's where we have to get into the idea of entity attachments and, these thoughts actually being projected onto people by dark entities and all sorts of things like that, which seem extremely plausible. And that's another thing he said. He did say he was possessed too. So if he's possessed, then it is whatever is inside of him that's acting on its own compulsion, and it's just using him as a vessel. And definitely got to see that as a possibility, but that's not to take away him being responsible regardless. Okay. Yeah, I try to keep that stuff out of my energy, keep it pure. Yeah. 8:12. Anyway, on a more positive note, I don't know. Again, I don't know how accurate it is to the show, but apparently his dad just loved him no matter what. You know, just like no matter what he did, how many times he screwed up, like he seemed to always forgive him. Whether this is true, the way it happened, I don't know. But if it is, uh, I would say that is some incredible love right there. That I don't know if I would be able to just embrace and forgive that easily. It's just, I guess he was a really strong soul, or he still is. He's still alive. But the fact that he just forgive him and forgive him and forgive him, and parents do that. Parents do that, like they do forgive over and over and over. And I noticed that in my life too, actually. And there is something really deeply loving about that, actually. So, on a more positive note to this dark stuff I'm talking about, I just wanted to at least mention that there could be, deeper layers to this in terms of strengthening love as well. This North Texas hiker, he said, human beings have a psychological veneer that holds us together, keeps our minds from scattering. Traumas cause cracks in the veneer, cause psychosis. Yeah, absolutely. You said that absolutely perfectly. And I think that there are certain triggers and certain frequencies, actually. Like, look out for Charlie YouTube channel, amazing channel. He talks about these ELF waves and all these sorts of things. They I think that they trigger certain parts of the brain so that you're sort of forced to remember, relive certain traumas, or you're acting on certain impulses. Grandma's here. What is Grandma saying? Grandma said something kind of a bit inappropriate here. That's odd. I don't know if that belongs here, Grandma. But he has no empathy. It's why he can. Right. And then there's the ultimate question of why certain people don't develop any empathy. Right? Is it the trauma? Is it the abuse? Is that the fracturing part too? Right? So if you cause enough pain to a person growing up, they tend to shut down, and any sort of empathy they may have had just sort of dissipates over time and they become very cold. That's one possibility, I think. And then we have to get back to the nature versus nurture sort of thing. If he said his dad wanted to kill people, so maybe his dad created a negative thought form that attached to his son. Whoa. You just brought up an excellent point I would have never even thought about. That is so interesting, Mystery. I think you're really spot on with that one, actually. Wow. Yeah, Angel says Grandma is a troll. Yeah, I think so too. I don't know. Dispense. I'm not really used to this. I don't do these live streams super often anymore. But trying to kick him out, I guess I can't really right now, so we'll just have to deal with Grandma, who I suspect is not a grandma, right? Because grandmas don't talk like that, do they? Yeah, I didn't know that about his dad. I didn't know either. I mean, I didn't know much about him except, for the details, about his death. One of the things I knew for sure and was absolutely certain about was his death, okay, and how he died in prison. And this is just like mind-blowing to me and how that completely and dramatically changed. And yes, I mean, Angel, you definitely bring up a great point that it might have been someone else. But I think, since there were lots of people who met that unfortunate end, it's kind of hard to say, though. But I'm 99.9% certain Dahmer's end was with a broomstick. And that created the show in 2022. And the show is then subconsciously implanting this normalization of cannibalism in people's minds, even though it's kind of hard to see it as a normalization because of how things ended for Dahmer. But it's at the very minimum, injecting this idea into people. It's so gross, and it's really gross, and you would think normal people wouldn't do it, but they would, and they have, and it's been proven throughout history many times that your average Joe can become a cannibal. And I'm not even talking about mass famines. I'm not even look at the Donner Party. The Donner Party, actually, they came through an area not too far that I was in when I was traveling through the Sierra Nevada mountains. What resulted with the Donner Party was them surviving through cannibalism, or that Peruvian soccer team or rugby or whatever in South America. It's so gross, but if there's no other option, then there's no other option. And that's sort of what I personally believe, in my opinion, is part of the reason this show exists and what it's implanting into people's minds, to prepare for that, a possibility of that. And that doesn't mean it will happen. It doesn't, of course. but it's yeah. Speaking of the yeah, it's called Alive. Yeah, speaking of that, Pangridi, I knew a guy from Uruguay many years ago that was acquainted with one of the rugby players that survived on that plane crash. So that was pretty interesting. It was interesting to know him in general because I just you don't know that many people from Uruguay because it's such an obscure country, and to have he was my mom's boyfriend actually a long time ago. But yeah, it was pretty interesting. Uh, anyway, I'm gonna go on for a little bit more here. Anyone else have anything else to say? I'm a little bit scattered brain today. Speaking of scattered brains, interesting how Grandma just said those two things and Grandma's gone. Interesting. There's 3 books on my shelf and Alive was one. Hey, Misty. No, it's all good. It's all good. We're gonna end it pretty soon here. I'm not mentally like, oh, you did, Angel? Oh, thank you. Appreciate it. How did you even do that from there? Like, I don't even know how to do that. I'm like looking at this. Like, how do I even freaking report him from here? No worries, Misty. We're mostly talking about Jeffrey Dahmer and the deeper spiritual implications of why he was the way he was on a greater sense and what he tried to show the collective through his actions. And it's a sort of self cannibalization paradigm where by him being a cannibal, he showed us as a collective that we are cannibalizing ourselves. And then in a greater sense, even relating to the show is subconsciously preparing people for the reality of cannibalism and the possibility of it soon in their own lives. And Angel's right. Angel, by the way, you said you'd rather die than do that. Then yes, so do I. I feel the same way. Feel the same way. It's terrible. Little dots in the chat. That's where I went, Angel. I went to the little dots in the chat. Oh, Mono Lake. Yeah, Misty. Mono Lake is super weird. Not only is it strange looking, it has a very strange vibe too. And I didn't know that, Native Americans, well, I read a thing over there, like they really utilized the hell out of that lake. Like everything they needed to survive was there. And I'm like, how? Isn't that like a salt? Or isn't this lake too salty? Like, and then they have some weird species of flies and other insects that live only there. The place is so strange. Another strange place being Yosemite. Several times I've been there, and the place just has the weirdest vibe. I can't even explain it. It's like dreary and dreamy, and like you're in this spinning motion, and your head is spinning. And especially when you're in the Yosemite Valley, you feel this weird presence there. And no wonder it's the #1 location for missing people in the world. The most out of any place on earth is Yosemite because the place is weird as hell. I had a friend in Columbus who died. Your friend in Columbus dated Dahmer? Really? Wow. Uh, I don't know what to say. That's pretty crazy and interesting. I also have a friend in Columbus, Ohio. Her name is Susan. Hey, Loyalty, what's up? And oh, Loyalty, yeah, you said you've been there. You've been through all those areas I've been through. And it is weird as hell. Like I actually started feeling sick when I was there. Like I couldn't breathe. Like I had to take really deep breaths. And this was just in the valley, just where all the main stuff is, where the dome, Half Dome, and El Capitan, and all those places, I felt super weird. The moment I went up to the mountains, I felt better. And a lot of Native American legends speak of, there's even legends of mermaids that live in Yosemite. So strange. Like mermaids and these weird lights and vortexes and all sorts of stuff. Yeah. Just have the mouse over the line where they speak. Ah, I see what you mean, Angel. See why I don't know how to do that is because I've never had to do that. Like, why would I ever like kick anyone out of here? Like, you guys are always so cool. But, I did have that troll on that other channel where I shared my NDE. This could be the same guy for all I know on another account. And now the chat, for whatever strange reason, disappeared. I can't. Oh, there it is. There it is. You assume it is? They met at the bathhouse, Misty? Wow. Well, let me just say this. I'm just glad he wasn't a victim. Your friend is still alive, right? I've hit the big time. Yeah. Interesting. All right, guys. I think I'm going to head out now. And I'll see you guys soon. And thank you for coming on. You have a lovely, lovely evening.